Before you head out for Via Straylate, how's about you meet me down at the Chatsuba for a drink and let me know in the comments section what deck you're on right now? An Ono Sendai, a Hitachi, a Hosaka? Forget about it. Let's just call Costa Nostra and get some pizza delivery. I'm gonna jack in later and catch the Sushi K concert at the Black Sun. Hi, I'm Michael Everts, and this is Fit to be Read. Welcome to episode 3 of Cyberpunk Week here on Fit to be Read. The first 2 episodes of Cyberpunk Week looked at the origins of cyberpunk and some of the notable titles and authors of this science fiction subgenre. Today I'm going to talk about 2 great classics of the subgenre and in a spoiler-free manner, lay out an on-ramp through some of the traditional obstacles to enjoying both of these fully. Neuromancer for some is a fun and quick ride through an interesting and prescient cyberspace landscape, and for other, it's a mind confusing and trippy. Snow Crash is more flashy, cool, and easier to vibe with, but is often tagged as having a middle part that gets bogged down and expects the reader to know some historical stuff that is just not common knowledge. Previously on this channel, I addressed strategies for how to read Neuromancer, and this episode will share those strategies again as well as expand on it. I'll link that video as well as my review of Neuromancer and Snow Crash in the descriptions. Especially check out the Snow Crash review because I wrote 3 parody songs for it using music from Metallica, Bonnie Tyler, and Tina Turner.
They try and crash him at the Black Sun in the metaverse.
Let's go ahead and start with Neuromancer. Published in 1984, this is the ultimate influential cyberpunk novel. William Gibson introduces the world to cyberspace, computer viruses and antiviruses, and imagines a world with crowded, sprawling cities, a noir setting, and wildly powerful artificial intelligences. Gibson describes with great accuracy an internet that wouldn't exist until decades later. Neuromancer shaped the cyberpunk genre and fittingly won the Hugo, the Nebula, and the Philip K. Dick Awards. In Neuromancer, down on his luck protagonist and anti-hero Case is a hacker. He and some other misfits or counterculture types are recruited by Armitage, a former military commander of some esteem. All of them, including Armitage, are having their strings pulled by Wintermute, an advanced artificial intelligence. Case is especially vulnerable to the string pulling because Wintermute has a solution for a terrible physical condition given to him by his former crime syndicate employers from who he hacked and stole valuable data. The crew includes Case, Molly the Muscle with her cybernetic implants, and Riviera, a shady character and a master of illusions. Wintermute has selected this crew for a heist that turns out to be much more than advertised. Where Neuromancer can really give some folks a run for their money is the prevalence of new terminology, familiar to us words that are used in a different context, unorthodox characters, and a not very familiar setting. If you started Neuromancer, made it 100 pages in, and still felt completely lost, fear not, you're not alone. Here are my 4 suggestions for on-ramping to Neuromancer. Tip number 1, supplement your reading with the William Gibson narrated audiobook. If you're reading a physical copy, which I suggest, follow difficult or confusing chapters with a sit-down with Gibson. I find that listening to the author reading the book and hearing his inflection and the cadence to each sentence can really help discern which character is saying what, provide better context to novel terms, and figure out exactly what's going on. Tip number 2, Google it. The first time I read Neuromancer, I was really turned around. Gibson's narration was helpful, but I still had questions. Sites like LitCharts, Shmoop, and others proved to be a great resource. LitCharts was especially helpful as the summaries are broken down by chapter. This is a great way to understand what you just read in that chapter while still avoiding any potential spoilers for the rest of the book. With this resource, I could confirm if I was right about what I thought had happened or if there was something that I missed. Tip number 3, develop a glossary. Nothing tripped me up more than Gibson's invented words and words that I know from a different context. For example, cyberspace, the term that Gibson coined in his short story Burning Chrome and popularized in Neuromancer, it refers to the visual virtual world that he imagined. Today we use the term cyberspace and matrix somewhat differently. I was about 2 chapters in when I realized I just couldn't keep all these terms straight. Let's build a glossary. This list is not exhaustive, but I believe creating this glossary will be an incredibly useful resource. First is DEC. DEC is a computer. Among other typical computer uses, hackers can use these to jack into cyberspace. There's Ono Sendai, Hisaka, and Hitachi. These are brands of computers, so when you see any of these words in a sentence like, he fingered the Hisaka, not an actual quote I think he was typing on his computer. He jacked in with the Ono Sendai is he used his computer to jack in. The Chat or Chatsubo, this is a bar in Chiba. Chiba is a seedy Japanese city outside of Tokyo. The Sprawl. The Sprawl is a region from Boston to Atlanta. These cities are so sprawling and merged that they're referred to as Bama or the Sprawl. Cyberspace and the Matrix. Basically, these two terms are used interchangeably. This is a visual representation of computer networks. As we do not today consider cyberspace and the matrix to be the same thing, this can cause an unaware reader confusion when Gibson randomly uses one of the terms or the other. A coffin is a small 9-foot long hotel room with just enough room to sleep in or store things in, like a large locker. ICE, ICE, this stands for Intrusion Countermeasures Electronics, or basically a firewall. Icebreaker is a computer virus intended to break through ice, of course. Construct. Basically, this is an AI recreation of another personality. Freeside. Freeside is a colony in some ways like a resort that orbits the Earth. Via Straylight. Via Straylight is a giant compound and is the home of the wealthy Ashpool family. Via Straylight is located at the end of Freeside. Tessier Ashpool. This is a powerful law firm run by the mega wealthy, eccentric, and powerful Tessier Ashpool family. You'll also come across the initials TA. This also refers to the family and or the firm. Microsofts. Microsofts are coded USB-like devices that you can plug into your head and thus access the code for visual or other mental stimulation. Those are the terms I think will help the most, but you may want to add to your list and research Trodes, Blue 9, Dex, RAM, and ROM. Tip number 4, create a character list. Here's my sample. Panther Moderns, they are a subculture or counterculture mercenary group. They are young pranksters and technophiles. Their leader is Lupus Yonderboy. Dixie Flatline. Dixie Flatline is a construct, basically the memories of a former hacker, McCoy Pauley. When he died or flatlined, his memories were stored and it feels as if there's some level of sentience, but a construct, it's just read-only memory, so he can't really grow or change. Of course, he's not very happy about that. Molly, she's the muscle of the team. Her body is riddled with bio-enhancements. Especially notable are her razor-sharp fingernails and her super sight eyes. She is confident and outspoken. Riviera is a master of illusions and holograms. He's also valued for supposed connections that may benefit Wintermute's crew. Lady 3 Jane. She is a clone, the third in a series of clones, and a part of the Tessier Ashpool family. Her parents are Marie France Tessier and John Ashpool. She resides, of course, at their vast home via Straylight. Finally, tip 5, trust and persevere. Trust the author. Even if Gibson is not going to hold your hand, his use of language is not whimsical or lacking purpose. Stick with the story, understand as much as you can the terms and characters, and the plot will unfold for you. The story is rich with suspense, action, and a very cool atmosphere. Moving on to Snow Crash by Neal Stephenson, published in 1992. This will be short and sweet, much shorter. Snow Crash is immediately accessible as the story opens with a riveting race against the clock. Hero protagonist, he's the protagonist in this story, is among other things a pizza delivery driver for the mafia. Stephenson displays real literary talent with his ability to hook the reader with an unusual and riveting pizza delivery. In the same scene, he introduces the story's other protagonist, yours truly. Let it sink in. No, it's not me, silly. Her name is YA, or yours truly. Like Neuromancer, Snow Crash hosts a great deal of prescient ideas, most notably his invention, the metaverse. While I think a reader can glean the meaning of most new terms simply through context, here are a few to get you started. Plank. Plank is a futuristic, souped-up skateboard that couriers ride. Poon. Couriers get around by pooning other vehicles, latching on with a magnetic-tipped cable, allowing them to ride their planks on the street like water skis. Loogie gun. A loogie gun is a gun that shoots sticky, immobilizing goo. The Raft. The Raft is L. Bob Reif's base of operations, initially started as the USS Enterprise aircraft carrier, Reif's personal ship, other boats, rafts, and such, connected and expanded around this to form an almost floating island of sorts. The Raft is home to Russian, Vietnamese, Japanese refugees and fugitives who've attached their boats to the construct. It can be a very dangerous place. Refu is a refugee, someone who has immigrated to the Raft. Bimbo Box. Bimbo Box is a minivan like what a soccer mom might drive. Gargoyle. A gargoyle is somebody, typically a CIA agent, who wears elements of a computer rather than using a laptop. This enables them to be in the metaverse and in the real world at the same time. A great tool for spying, but scoffed at by pretty much everybody else. As fun, cool, clever, and enjoyable as Snow Crash is, it is notorious for dragging in parts of its midsection. There are religious and historical elements drawn from ancient Sumerian civilization and Mesopotamian religion and mythology. I was captivated the first time I read Snow Crash, except when I was lost reading about the Sumerians. My second read, following some very basic research into Sumer and Mesopotamian mythos, I was able to enjoy the read even more. Without sharing too much or spoiling anything, here's a very quick and generic history lesson that is sure to protect you from getting stuck in the middle of the book. First up is Enki. He was the Sumerian god of water, knowledge, and creation. He was also known by these two names, and I'm not going to try to pronounce those. While Enki was mostly a local patron god, his legend spread throughout Mesopotamia, and he ended up being a very big deal. We're talking cult proportions. The Namshub of Enki, this was an ancient Sumerian poem, story, incantation that would result in linguistic confusion. Think Tower of Babel. Upon hearing this tale or incantation, people will lose all ability to process or understand speech. In Snow Crash, Namshubs are referenced as tools or weapons used to spread mass confusion, the results of which resemble speaking in tongues. The name Ashera comes up a few times. Ashera is a Semitic goddess, also appearing in Sumerian mythology under the name Inanna. It's believed that Enki, her father, gave her the Mies, or divine decrees, with all of the positive and negative attributes of the civilization, foundations of religion, technology, behavior, ethics, etc. And Nana was basically pissed off that she was a goddess of minimal consequence, so Enki did this to placate her. I could, with a little more research, do a full episode on this mythology. I will not, but this little bit of background will serve you well. Thank you for watching. I'm Michael Everts, and this is Fit to be Read.